Hey guys, I want to say just a couple of things about the case of Jeffrey MacDonald. I learned a couple of things today that I didn't know before. In December of 2018, a federal appeals court denied his appeal of a federal judge's decision back in 2014, which denied Jeffrey MacDonald a new trial. The appeal was based on new evidence, quote unquote, including 3 hairs that were found in the home that did not belong to anybody in the family, and also a statement by a deputy U.S. Marshal who claimed that the prosecutor had intimidated a witness. The witness was Helena Stokely, who was a known druggie. She was also a drug informant, or I guess that'd be a police informant. She had some major issues. Just my opinion, but I highly doubt that any testimony from her would have been credible anyway. So this is what one of the appeals court judges wrote in the decision. Quote, "Simply put, we cannot say that the new evidence, considered with all the other evidence, would be sufficient to establish by clear and convincing evidence that no reasonable fact finder would have found him guilty of the murders of his wife and daughters." So I thought that was interesting. I also learned that in 1991, Jeffrey MacDonald was actually eligible to appear before the parole board. And he refused because he said in order to do so, he would really have to say that he murdered his wife and children. And he refused to say that even if it meant he may have gotten out of prison. So that was interesting, I thought. Of course, I highly doubt they would have released him, right? Even if he would have admitted it. And then I think in 2002 he got married. And in 2005, he did go ahead and appear before the parole board, but parole was denied. And now he's eligible for parole again in 2020. And just one more thing I learned today that I didn't know before. Remember the book Fatal Vision? Well, the man who wrote it was someone who Jeffrey MacDonald evidently believed was going to write a book which would make him appear as if he was innocent. But by the time the trial was over and the author had really dug into the case and done a lot of research and interviewed Jeffrey MacDonald for hours and hours and probably days on end, he evidently began to believe he was guilty. And the book was written in a way that may have led the reader to also think that Jeffrey MacDonald was guilty. Well, Jeffrey MacDonald sued the author for breach of trust, and they actually reached some sort of a settlement that required the author to pay Jeffrey MacDonald $325,000. I didn't know that. I thought that was really interesting because I listened to an interview that the author gave, I think it was on the William F. Buckley show. And he said in that interview that he actually had a contract with Jeffrey MacDonald that, from the sounds of things, would have protected him from ever being sued. So I just thought that was a huge amount, considering the facts of that case, especially considering the contract that they had between them. What do you guys think? Do you think there's any chance that Jeffrey MacDonald might actually be innocent? Or do you think the evidence in this case is so solid that you're convinced of his guilt?